Wife and I ran into her ex at the mall and it sent me for a loop. Part 2. I'm not a jealous person and I honestly have zero problem with her being friends with whomever she chooses. But my impression of her relationship with him was different than what I was seeing. I figured I was overreacting or reading too much into it, but I still felt a bit weird, like a third wheel if I'm being honest, so I just tried to hint that it was time to go by picking up our trays and making it clear I was ready. Neither of them noticed. So I walked off, tossed the trays, came back. Still talking. They finally wrap it up after a few more minutes and they hugged again and then he was off. And then without a single word about it she just looks at me and goes, "Okay, let's stop at Lululemon and Indigo before we head out." Like nothing happened. I kept waiting for her to bring him up, say something about how weird it was, or at least acknowledge him or their conversation in some way, but she just acted like it was nothing. We shopped for another 45 minutes like nothing happened. Once we got in the car I waited to see if she'd bring it up. She didn't. Small talk died off a few minutes after we got on the highway, and she was just glued to her phone. So I asked who she's texting. She says the group chat, that's her 3 best friends Cheyenne, Darcy, and Julia. I said, "What's the topic of conversation?" She smiled and said, "I'm telling them how crazy it is that I ran into Chris." I just say, "Yeah, that was pretty wild." She agrees and says, "Insane. What are the chances?" And then she just kept texting. I kind of expected that to kick off our conversation about it, but it didn't. That night at home, after she'd been on her phone the majority of the night with the girls still chatting about it, I decided to bring it up. Told her I felt like a bit of a third wheel when Chris showed up since she didn't introduce me. Felt like I wasn't even there because she didn't introduce me. She light-heartedly said, "Oh, he knows who you are." Then gave me a quick peck on the cheek. Now I didn't exactly handle this great. I brought it up in a very light-hearted and non-serious tone. That's just how I deal with conflict, so it's 100% on me for not communicating where my head was at, and I can't fault her for being so nonchalant about it.